CEWT Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. This podcast is part of our continuing outreach efforts, and the format is conversation. We're having conversations with businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs, community agencies, and in all cases, difference makers. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. So subscribe today. Take 20 minutes and hear from people living in your community who are making a difference in your community. It's time to get started with CEWT Talk. Hello, everyone. This is Jason Batalden, the Assistant Director at Continuing Education Workforce Training, and we are in Season 3 of our podcast, CEWT Talk. We have got several people on the show today, but always I have to introduce Paul.
Yes.
Good to see you. Good to hear you today.
Good to see you. Good to hear from you today.
Hey, is your new year going good?
Yeah, so far it's going good.
No major issues?
really, how could it go worse than 2020?
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Every day past December 31st, I'm like going, we're making it. We're making it.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we've got a fun little episode today. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Gary, you're on the show with us today. And Gary, you've got a special guest, and I'll let you introduce her.
Hey, thanks, Jason. Hello, Paul. Welcome to Cathy McDougall. Welcome everybody to our CEWT podcast. Joining us is Cathy McDougall from AARP Idaho. She's the director for outreach there, and we're going to be talking with her a little bit about her role that she has in working with NKA and Treasue Valley. NKA is New Knowledge Ventures, and that's the over 50s seniors group in that valley up there. So they have a lot of fun. They do a lot of great things, and we're real privileged to have Cathy join us. Welcome, Cathy. If you take a minute, just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you came to NKA Treasue Valley and AARP. And we'll start with that.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Gary. I've known you for a while now, as we've been working diligently on New Knowledge Adventures. We just celebrated our fifth anniversary of having New Knowledge Adventures in the Treasue Valley. And it's hard to believe that started 5 years ago. The way it came about, the connection with ARP to ISU and to New Knowledge Adventures is the New Knowledge Adventures team in Pocatello used to invite me quite a bit to speak about different ARP topics. And I would go into these classrooms and they would just be packed. And I was like, whoa, how can there be such a great audience of captive people? And I thought, this is such a wonderful program and such a bright spot that I thought, Boise really could use something like this in the Treasue Valley. And so working hard with ISU and ARP, it just seemed like a perfect fit. And that's how we brought it to the Treasue Valley exactly a little bit over 5 years ago now.
Oh, cool. So we have an anniversary celebration coming up too that we should be talking about later and doing something for that. That is a neat start to this thing. So Treasue Valley, we're talking about the Boise area, and you have an association with AARP. You have really taken the lead of working in that area with that fine group. Can you tell us a little bit more about what they do, NKA and Treasue Valley?
Yeah, so NKA Treasue Valley, we are a volunteer-run organization, and that's really critical because ARP does most of our community programming and advocacy work through our volunteers. And so this was a perfect fit for our volunteers because a lot of them wanted to do things in the community. They wanted to contribute in different ways, and NKA is just the perfect vehicle for that. The volunteers do things such as teach the classes. All of our classes are taught by volunteers. No one gets paid to teach these classes. Our volunteers, we have a curriculum committee that goes out and searches the community and looks for people that are willing to offer these classes. The volunteers do the evaluations. They set up the rooms when we used to do rooms. Now they set up the Zoom meeting. for us and host the meetings, and we have volunteers that facilitate everything. I mean, it's a big organization, really run by dozens of volunteers.
Yeah, that is so cool. That's so cool. Hey, you mentioned that, we used to do it in the room, so it's normally a live kind of face-to-face class. And I want to ask you about the types of classes, but right now, currently with the COVID environment, you've really moved more to an online or a Zoom classroom setup too. Is that all being run by volunteers for you as well?
Yeah. It used to be all in person, and our volunteers really loved it, and our participants. I mean, there's a social component to NKA that's just critical, and we really hope to get back in there in that space. But yes, we've moved everything online, and the semester starting registration opens March 9th, 2021. And yes, our volunteers are literally running everything. They are setting up those Zoom meetings. They set up our registration system. They host the meetings, so they open them up and they assign different roles. And then they facilitate the meetings online and record them and doing all of those things. So it's been we say this has been their new knowledge adventures, just learning how to set all this up. Because believe me, they didn't know, we never did anything online before.
And I like how you put that too. It's been very new knowledge adventures. It's new territory. There's a lot of senior groups around, and I've had a chance to observe a few, but I've seen what your committee's doing, what those volunteers are doing. I mean, you have it together as a group. They are attacking it. They're doing it. They're setting up meetings. They're getting, promotions out. They're doing a lot of good. What kind of membership are you seeing out there? I mean, where are your members coming from? Are they all in Boise, or are they around the community?
Yeah, so we, when it was in person, it was obviously just around the Treasure Valley. But a lot of times we'd get questions from really all over the state. Well, how come you don't bring this to our neck of the woods? Like no problem, right? No problem to do that. But the silver lining of all this is really we can now bring it to people. And I think we did a survey of our members, and the majority, I was surprised, but they wanted like a hybrid model going forward. Nobody wanted just straight in-person classes. They wanted it to have like some sort of streaming. And Paul,
I was just going to ask that because yes, everyone likes that social aspect of getting together personally, but if you can also create a hybrid where you have live and streaming, you can actually have more participation from almost anywhere. Really. And we felt like the spring semester was kind of a pilot of this, we believe we had to work out a lot of kinks, but as we are, the fall semester, I'm sorry. But as we're preparing for the spring semester, we really feel like we're going to have more participation. And one lesson learned is we didn't put mountain time in our. And we know that was a problem. Then we had people from all over. Like, well, what time is this? Like, what we're in different time zones now, and we never ever anticipated something like that. So we know people are engaging from different states and also from northern Idaho. So we just hope to reach more and more people. And I know as we do our outreach, we are going to be deliberately reaching out beyond the Treasure Valley in our marketing this semester.
That is so cool. That's a great question, Paul. I mean, now, lemons into lemonade, you've taken a challenge and been able to expand the numbers of people that you reached by using this technology. What a great advantage that now gives you. I mean, there are some senior groups, unfortunately, who don't want to use any technology. They just want to say, let's step back for a while. And I think they lose the opportunity. And I think you've all done a great job. So kudos to those committees who are working for you and doing all that. All volunteers too. That's amazing. It shows a spirit and interest. Paul, what you got?
Well, I was wondering what kind of hurdles was that? I mean, a lot of people have trouble with technology, making that leap from, how do we do this? But I would imagine maybe in the older elderly section or seniors, they might not even have a basis to start with. How did you overcome those type of hurdles? Yeah, there definitely were hurdles. And one is that we did lose some volunteers who have said, well, I don't want to do this online. But we keep asking them, and slowly they're coming back. So that's one thing, is just to keep hanging in with them. Secondly, is we are actually offering Zoom training as part of NKA. So we want to let people be trained so they know and feel more comfortable about it. Other hurdles was just even with our own instructors, is we required dry runs of all of our classes. Talk about problems I never anticipated. When you do, I think we did 16 in one day, and we sure learned a lot about people just accessing the technology, sharing their screens, having different devices, things like that. So those were other things that we had to overcome. But yeah, for the older adult population, I think there's those who are willing to just go for it, and they feel very comfortable doing it, and others need to be encouraged. And so we hope that if we keep just putting it in front of them, that they'll eventually feel like they can do it, and that it's easier than they think. And if they need help, we're going to help them.
So did you actually see examples of converts, people who said, no, I'm not doing this, there's no way, and then they go, I'm so glad we actually are able to still meet like this?
Yeah, absolutely. And it usually required some nudging from other people. Because, like we've talked about the social component, there are a lot of friendships that have formed through NKA. And I know a lot of them have been emailing their friends. And we're talking about that today, is like, well, we're just going to keep asking them to do it. And eventually they're going to just link on and join us.
So you say that social component. I know that you have that structured time of a presentation and so forth. Do you add any additional time to those so that the participants can or the audience can actually talk amongst themselves either prior or after the actual presentation?
Right now we haven't done that, but I should put that on my list and talk to Gary about that, because we always are talking about what worked and what didn't. And I think a lot of people actually might enjoy that, because it certainly happened in person. People would hang out for a long time afterward. So.
Yeah, that's what Paul's getting to is the angle into that social connection that a lot of us want. I kid these two guys a lot about it. We need both of you on here. A podcast is usually just one person and a guest, but the patter we get between the two of them really adds so much to the ambiance. Plus, we get to connect a little bit. It sort of takes the place of this. And yeah, we need to talk, because I'm seeing a couple of really interesting ways to do that social interaction here with kind of a simple little game that is kind of fun, and you got to get into it. But I want to go back another thing. A good way to nudge, because you use that word nudge, some of the seniors into this is grandkids. Grandkids were more technologically capable. So, no, not a problem. Get them involved. Let them show you how to do that. Bring the grandkids on. All four of us, for those in the audience, the four of us were talking about this just before we started. We've all got dogs around us right now. Bring the dogs into the show. It's so much fun. For those of you here on audio only listening to this, you're not going to see the dogs. Maybe you'll hear a bark or two, but for everybody who's on audio and watching this on YouTube, you might see the dogs. But another great way to make connections, and it makes it fun and people want to do it more. So those are good questions. I got one for you. In Boise, I know that there's been some outreach from the group to get some classes out of the Meridian campus, the ISU Meridian campus. How's that been working out? Because those guys are pretty busy and they like to do some of this too.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because the way we've always worked with New Knowledge Adventures Treasure Valley is we would always ask ISU if they had instructors who'd be willing to teach classes. And sometimes we had better success than other times, but I have to say, in this virtual environment, we had an unbelievable response rate of people willing to do these online classes.
Yeah, no travel involved.
No travel, no setting things up, no. They just log on to Zoom, and we're trying to keep our members that said they don't want it between 45 minutes and an hour, so it's quick and dirty. And so yeah, we have a lot of classes lined up, and some real I think timely classes, like one about the immune health, which a lot of people want to know about. Another good one about sleep hygiene, things like that. So yeah, we've got a really good lineup for the spring semester with ISU professors. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah. So what are the most popular classes? What type of classes have the best reaction as far as people want to make sure that they have a seat and they can see that class? What are the most popular?
It's funny, the ones that we always try to predict what they'll be, and we're always wrong. But and so when it was in person, like the ones that would fill up within like 5 minutes were anything that was cooking related or crafts related, or any kind of field trip. Those would fill up immediately. And we did a cooking class, and we actually are going to be doing a virtual class, a craft class, where we're going to send everybody the paint kits and everything. And I suspect that one will fill up quickly. And we'll be doing some cooking classes as well. Other classes that people really like are like estate planning, or like any kind of history class, any class about someone's personal experience. Their personal story or their interesting career experience. Those tend to fill up pretty quickly. Anything that's like a tour of something, those fill up extremely quickly. So yeah, I mean, we're learning a lot about online, what's popular versus in person. So I don't know if I still really know what the virtual classes that are the most popular yet, but I know it's ones.
It's a hard thing to figure out, right? Yeah. What translates over virtually versus in person, and so that's a challenge to be able to find out, what someone is willing to spend time on the computer to learn versus they would rather do it in person. So, if you figure out that magic formula, send me an email, because I think we're all in that state right now as we're trying to provide, our stuff on the continuing education side as well. It's like what makes sense on virtual versus what doesn't work, which we thought would. So that's a tough challenge. I can appreciate where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, yep. It is a tough one.
So, Cathy, I mean, we're in this point of COVID, and I know a lot of people are staying in to try to keep safe. And I imagine the people who are elderly are even more aware of their vulnerability to the virus. Have you heard any feedback about how this is a great outlet for them, at least to connect to other people and not feel so shut in?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a real goal of NKA. It always has been, to prevent senior isolationism. Honestly, we know that it's improved people's lives. And I think what we've heard from people is that they're glad we're still here, that we didn't just stop doing this because of COVID, that people still get to see each other online. They still get to connect with us. They still get to stay engaged. Just as instructors. I mean, we've got 30 classes lined up. So that's 30 volunteer instructors that are being engaged and keeping mentally sharp and things like that. And so I think they really are appreciative that we continued it, that there still is an opportunity to see people they haven't seen in a long time. And then our volunteers, of course, are so appreciative that they still have a role, and it's a valued role, and they're still making a difference in the community out there. So yeah.
That's well said. Could you go back a second on the classes that you're offering for the community, for the seniors out in the community? You're not charging for those, are you?
No. So these are all free.
Free classes. Wow.
Free classes. Yeah. They don't need to pay for them. So NK members in Pocatello and Friends for Learning in Idaho Falls can take classes as well. If
anybody.
Anybody from anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow. What if somebody in, I want to say another state sees this and they go, well, hey, I want to get into that. What would they do to become eligible to see one of your classes? Do they have to register with NKA in Treasue Valley?
Yep, they just have to go online. We have the URL, and then they can select which classes they want. And then after they register, they receive the Zoom link and the meeting code. And so literally anybody can do it, as long as we have, as long as we're not past capacity, which we hope that will happen one day. It's not happening yet, but yeah, so that's how people would be able to join. Really, just sharing that URL, anyone can join these classes.
And Cathy,
that's an amazing thing. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, and Cathy, you mentioned spring semester. Are you taking registrations for spring semester right now, or is that coming up?
Yeah, that will start on March 9th at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. That's when the link will be opened. So we'll be sharing the URL before then, but that's because people, as we keep trying to improve our program, people gave feedback that they wanted everyone to have a fair shot at getting to the classes. It's not as big of a deal as it used to be because everyone wanted that cooking class and it filled up in 5 minutes, but still people wanted equal access. So, everyone has the same URL and they all have an equal shot at getting in the class.
That's right, because with the live classes, you had limited space and seating, but that's kind of taken away at this point because of that, and that's why the blending would probably work out if once we're all back together again and hugging.
Yeah, I don't know about hugging, Paul.
Okay, all right. I just threw that in. No. I don't know about the rest of you. I miss hugging.
Yeah, Gary, how will I shake? Do I shake your hand, Gary? Will I still have to do the elbow thing? What do I do?
Yeah, we haven't figured all those things out. Here's a cool thing, and you're discovering a lot of this. All of the volunteers are too. On the academic side, when people teachers who typically taught in an on-ground kind of a format previously now get thrown into this, they're also discovering the same thing. And one of the common feedbacks is, I lose touch. I don't know that they're getting me or understanding me. And what that leads to, and you'll see it in some of the better facilitators or instructors, is those guys begin to pick up on different cues. Whereas before in a live classroom, you could see who's fallen asleep, right? Now, when they turn off their camera, or if the cameras are not working or something, you can't tell if somebody's paying attention. So good instructors begin to figure out ways to ask a question that generates the discussion or is aimed at, are you paying attention? So it's how do you wave goodbye anymore? Most people go, oh, hi, that's what we're used to. It's turned into, that's not bad. That's a good way. You say goodbye and that's it. Or how do we greet each other now? We joke up front. How's it going? That's that social stuff coming back. We're learning how to make it work. And that's the lemonade part, man. That is so cool. I don't know how you really say goodbye, though. There's a clap there. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So that was the timer. And I'm not sure.
I didn't hear the timer.
Did anybody else hear the timer?
I didn't hear the timer.
I heard the timer. I
didn't. Okay, we're done. Well, we got to close this thing up now.
I do. On that, I guess, Cathy, my question is, how do you guys get the word out about NKA Treasue Valley? How do you let people know you're out there? I'm assuming word of mouth, right? Those who participate, your students and your instructors, are your best marketing advocates. But how else do you reach out to the community?
Yeah, so the way people can learn about NKA really is, we continue to contact those who participated in the past. And so we have a very, very large list of past participants, and then hopefully it's word of mouth through that way. But also ARP has quite a large membership in Idaho, and we select a certain portion of those people, and they receive a postcard that details the information and that gives them the URL. And we found that that gets people's attention. And we also, we're going to, like I said, we'll be reaching out beyond Treasure Valley this semester. And so we hope to get, even a larger following, and then we just keep contacting those people once they've participated. So,
and if somebody's been listening to this podcast and they want to get a hold of you, is that okay? Can you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, I love when people contact me, and we're just so happy to connect with them about this.
Do you mind sharing your contact info?
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is really to email me. And so my email is cmcdougall, so CMCDOUGALL@aarp.org. And please contact me that way, and we'll get the URL to you or any information you have, or if you want to volunteer, or if you want to teach a class.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that is great. Okay.
Or if you've got a good suggestion for a class too, right? Sometimes you can't let that well run dry. We need good ideas all the time.
Yes.
We count on it. We rely on it.
All right, guys, can you hear that?
I heard that now.
That's a timer. That is a timer, guys.
I heard Jason's timer. I don't know what you're talking about, Gary.
Did you have your timer set, Gary? Did you have your timer set?
I forgot to start it, so I started it late.
Okay.
We're having too much fun on this thing.
Gary likes dual timers.
Cathy McDougall from AARP, the outreach director for the state of Idaho's AARP, has joined us today, and it's been a pleasure having you on board, Cathy. Thank you so much for sharing the experiences with online and your classes. Sounds like your programs are really expanding by taking advantage of this. Congratulations to all the members, all the volunteers. What a great initiative you've got going on there, and best of luck to you to keep that going. We hope to continue working with you on that. Let me close this out by saying thanks again to Paul and to Jason. We are Sweet Talk. They are Sweet Talk, and we enjoy bringing this to you on a regular basis. Check us out on cetrain.isu.edu. Got a newsletter, got a blog, got lots of stuff, and all these recordings that you can now access. Thanks to the audience. You guys be safe out there, and appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for joining us at Sweet Talk.
Thanks for joining us, Cathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.